Making headlines this hour, President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu issues a new presidential decree to govern the eligibility of projects for cross-subsidy investment and stipulating the minimum investment threshold that contractors must meet in order to participate in such arrangements. The Parliament's Government Oversight Committee approves the appointment of Hassan Zarir as Minister of Finance and Public Enterprises. The Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development announces efforts to award contracts for the development of 1,000 new housing units to local firms will be finalized this week.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Idham Naim. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu issues a new presidential decree to govern the eligibility of projects for cross-subsidy investment and stipulating the minimum investment threshold that contractors must meet in order to participate in such arrangements.
The decree comes into effect pursuant to the Maldives Tourism Act, which obliges the government to publish annually in the Government Gazette the minimum investment threshold for contractors undertaking key projects under cross-subsidy schemes. The provision aligns with the nation's broader investment policy aimed at accelerating tourism development, bolstering infrastructure, enhancing climate resilience, safeguarding homeland and national security, and promoting social development across the archipelago. And annexed to the decree enumerates the projects that falls under the government's policy framework and are therefore eligible for cross-subsidy arrangements together with the applicable minimum investment requirements. The list encompasses a broad spectrum of initiatives including land reclamation for tourism purposes and to meet growing public life needs, including the expansion of vital state services, prison development projects, tourism development and airport expansion schemes, social housing development, causeway construction linking islands, utility services in newly dredged areas such as water, electricity, sewage networks, and waste management facilities. Speaking to PSM News, Chief Government Spokesperson Muhammad Hussain Sharif clarified that the President's office made only minor tweaks to the resolution that was published last year. Instead of detailing each project individually this time, the government has opted for a broader, more flexible description of the eligibility initiatives, he said, adding that this project allows the government to adapt the list to evolving development priorities while still providing clear investment thresholds. The move is expected to attract greater private sector participation, ensure transparency in the allocation of cross-subsidy resources, and accelerate the delivery of the Maldives' ambitious development agenda.
The Parliament's Government Oversight Committee approves the appointment of Hassan Zarir as Minister of Finance and Public Enterprises.
President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu appointed Zarir to the post on 8th of June. As per the Constitution, cabinet appointments must be submitted to Parliament for approval before a minister can formally assume legal authority. Following the President's nomination, the matter was referred to the Government's Oversight Committee for review and evaluation. After considering the appointment, the committee unanimously approved Zarir's nomination, with all members present voting in favour. Zarir previously served as Deputy Commissioner General and Commissioner General of the Maldives Inland Revenue Authority, or MIRA. He has extensive experience in the financial sector and holds a Bachelor of Accounting degree and a Master of Science in Finance from the International Islamic University, Malaysia. The committee also approved changes made by President Muizzu to the names and mandates of government ministries. The decision was likewise passed unanimously by members attending the meeting. Both matters will now be submitted to Parliament for consideration. The final approval of Zarir's appointment will be determined through a vote of the full Parliament.
Parliamentarians describes the proposed Maldives 2.0 digital transformation bill as a crucial piece of legislation for the country's future as debate on the government-backed bill commenced in Parliament.
The bill, introduced by parliamentarian for Gaddu constituency Muhammad Ali, seeks to provide a legal framework for the Maldives' digital transformation efforts. A majority of members who participated in the preliminary debate expressed support for the legislation, stating that it would benefit citizens by improving access to public services and strengthening data security. During the debate, parliamentarians noted that the bill would accelerate efforts to align the Maldives with global digital developments while providing the legal foundation needed to modernize government services. Parliamentarian for Funadu constituency Mohammad Mamdouh said the legislation would help close gaps that have previously enabled corruption and misuse of public resources, regardless of which administration is in power. He stated that government institutions must adapt to technological advancements and that such transitions require strong legal frameworks. Parliamentarian for Fedu North constituency Ismail Nizar said the bill was not simply a technology-related measure but a framework designed to support the Maldives' vision of becoming a digital-first nation. He noted that Maldives' digital services had already been established and the proposed legislation would provide the legal authority needed to govern its operations. While supporting the overall objectives of the bill, parliamentarian for Kanditimu constituency Amin Faisal called for extensive consultation with industry experts during the committee review stage. He urged Parliament to seek the views of qualified professionals, members of the public, and young people working in the technology sector to further strengthen the legislation. During the debate, some opposition parliamentarians alleged that the legislation could serve as a pathway towards the introduction of electronic voting. However, the majority of parliamentarians who spoke on the bill rejected the claim, stating that there are no provisions relating to electronic voting within the proposed legislation.
Parliament accepts and forwards to committee a government-sponsored bill aimed at regulating the collection, processing and use of personal data while strengthening data protection in the Maldives.
The Personal Data Protection Bill was introduced on behalf of the government by parliamentarian for Hemweru West constituency Ali Ibrahim. According to the proposed legislation, the bill seeks to establish a comprehensive legal framework governing the collection, processing, and use of personal data in the country. It also outlines the rights of individuals whose data is collected and defines the responsibilities of organizations and entities that collect and process personal information. The bill proposes the creation of regulatory mechanisms to oversee data controllers and processors and ensure compliance with data protection requirements. It also sets out rules governing the transfer of personal data to foreign countries, international organizations, and other cross-border entities. In addition, the legislation specifies the rights available to data subjects and the procedures through which those rights may be exercised. It further outlines the obligations of data processors in responding to and managing data breaches. The bill establishes the role and responsibilities of a privacy commissioner to oversee the implementation and enforcement of the legislation. Under the proposed framework, the Information Commissioner appointed under the Right to Information Act would also serve as the Privacy Commissioner. The legislation details the responsibilities, record-keeping requirements, and accountability measures applicable to data controllers and processors. It also specifies the circumstances under which organizations would be required to appoint dedicated data protection officers. The bill was unanimously accepted by Parliament, with all 66 members present voting in favour. It has now been referred to the Parliament's Information and Communications Committee for further review and consideration.
Managing Director of Maldives Hajj Corporation Limited, Mohammad Shakil, pledges to provide opportunities for dialogue with all political parties if he is appointed as a member of the Elections Commission of Maldives, ECM.
Shakil made the remarks during an interview with Parliament's Committee on Independent Institutions, which is reviewing his nomination for a vacant seat on the Elections Commission. His name was forwarded by President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu following the vacancy created by the resignation of former Elections Commission's President and member Mohammad Zahid. Responding to questions from committee members, Shakil said he had served independently and with integrity during his previous tenure as an Elections Commission member. He explained that he resigned from the commission in 2018 because he believed the environment at the time no longer allowed for independent decision-making and professional conduct. Addressing concerns about disputes between the Election Commission and political parties, Shakil said the Maldives has one of the most transparent electoral systems in the world, with laws, regulation, and procedures that compare favorably with those of developed countries. However, He noted that disagreements often arise when information that should be shared with all political parties is not communicated fully or in a timely manner. Shakil said such issues could be addressed by providing stakeholders with real-time information about the Commission's activities and decisions. He pledged that if appointed, he would work independently and ensure that all political parties have avenues to raise concern and engage in dialogue with the Commission. Furthermore, Shakil stated that the Election Commission's role should not be focused on penalizing political parties, but rather on encouraging compliance with law and regulations governing political activities. He also highlighted the need for stronger public awareness efforts to educate party members about the legal frameworks, regulations, and policies governing political parties. Shakil currently serves as the managing director of Maldives Hajj Corporation Limited. He previously served as a member of the Elections Commission from 3rd December 2014 to 9th May 2018, and before that as Director General of the Commission from 1st September 2013 to 3rd December 2014. His nomination will now be considered by Parliament following the committee's review process.
The Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development announces efforts to award contracts for the development of 1,000 new housing units to local firms will be finalized this week as a part of a broader government push to resolve the country's ongoing housing crisis through projects spanning various developmental stages.
The initiative will be distributed equally among 5 entirely domestically owned companies, with each firm responsible for constructing 200 units. Ahmad Nazim Mohammed, the State Minister for Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, said during an appearance on the PSM News' program Rajya Miyadu. Within the allotment of each contractor, the portfolio will consist of 60 two-bedroom apartments and 140 three-bedroom apartments, he detailed. These residences will offer more expansive floor plans than any social housing units previously developed within the country, State Minister Nazim noted, explaining that two-bedroom apartments will measure 700 square feet, while three-bedroom units will exceed 950 square feet. Both the interior finishing and the exterior communal spaces will feature notable improvements over past developments, he added, stating that construction is situated in Phase 2 of the Hurumala development zones. This effort represents just one component of a national housing strategy, which includes projects progressing across both the Greater Male region and the outer atolls, according to the Housing Ministry. In Phase 1 of Hurumale, 3 land plots have already been awarded to local corporations, alongside an additional plot allocated to the domestic firm in Vilimale. 2 Chinese firms have been granted land rights in Hurumale Phase 2, where practical construction is slated to begin as soon as the design phase concludes and the necessary permits are secured.
The Ministry of Fisheries, Agriculture and Ocean Resources announces plans to launch agricultural pilot projects on larger islands as part of preparations for the proposed agricultural economic zone at Fushidi-Garfalo.
The initiative forms part of the government's efforts to strengthen food security in the Maldives. In 2024, the Maldives Industrial Development Free Zone signed an agreement with China Harbour Engineering Company to develop an agriculture economic zone aimed at boosting domestic food production. Speaking on PSM News' program, State Minister for Fisheries, Agriculture and Ocean Resources, Ahmad Hassan Didi, said plans and proposal developments for the mega project have been completed. He noted that administrative and technical adjustments are currently being undertaken after the location designated for the project was changed. Ahmad Hassan Didi said preparatory agricultural activities are already underway ahead of the project's implementation, including pilot farming programs on islands with larger land areas. According to the State Minister, these pilot projects will help build capacity and provide practical support once the larger development begins. The State Minister added that work is also progressing on a separate agricultural project planned for the northern region of the Maldives. He further noted that efforts are underway to introduce agricultural projects in Lamu Atoll, Addu City, and Formula City. Ensuring food security remains one of the key priorities of President Dr. Mohammad Muiz's administration. Under the agreement between MIDFZ and China Harbour Engineering Company, the Fushidi-Garfalo project will include land reclamation, the development of primary infrastructure, construction of an industrial agricultural park, passenger and cargo terminals, and other supporting facilities.
SK Hynix overtakes Samsung Electronics to become South Korea's most valuable listed company, marking a dramatic reversal of fortunes for a chip maker that 2 decades ago nearly collapsed under debt.
Shares of SK Hynix, now the world's most valuable memory chip maker, traded up 5.7% to bring the company's market capitalization to 2,082.5 trillion won, equivalent to 1.35 trillion US dollars, compared with gains of 0.4% in Samsung Electronics to 2,081.3 trillion won. Excluding preferred shares, SK Hynix, now the dominant supplier of high bandwidth memory HBM chips used in AI systems for customers such as Nvidia and Alphabet's Google, has emerged as one of the biggest beneficiaries of the global AI boom, propelling a more than 340% rally in its shares this year and lifting its market value above both Samsung Electronics and Micron. SK Hynix focus primarily on memory chips, whereas Samsung Electronics also manufactures logic chips and consumer electronics such as smartphones and TVs. Samsung Electronics had held the top spot since 2000.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer says he would resign, with the new leader to be in place by the time Parliament returns in September, paving the way for Britain to have its 7th leader in 10 years.
Less than 2 years after he won a landslide election victory that promised an end to chaos in British politics, Starmer said it was clear that his party wanted him to go.
But I know the question being asked now is not who was best placed to change the Labour Party, to take us into power and to begin the vital work of improving lives for millions of people. Those questions have been answered. The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I have spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess.
He said nominations for anyone to replace him would open on July 9th. However, his rival Andy Burnham is the clear frontrunner. Starmer thanked his colleagues for their support, his voice cracking with emotion as he also paid tribute to his wife and children.
Portugal defender Diogo Dalot delivers a defiant riposte to critics, claiming there were people actively rooting against his country's World Cup campaign following their stuttering start in Group K.
Dalot's comment came after what he described as a few hard days following Portugal's disappointing 1-1 draw with Democratic Republic of Congo. The result unleashed a torrent of online criticism and abuse ahead of their clash with Uzbekistan on Tuesday. When pressed to identify his targets for the tournament, the 27-year-old remained coy. Dalot also leapt to the defense of Cristiano Ronaldo, who has faced particular scrutiny after an underwhelming start to his 6th World Cup. Dalot also revealed that the players were deliberately shielding themselves from the backlash on social media.
With customers queued up and spilling onto the sidewalk at Cookitaria by Lovely, eager to grab a fresh World Cup-themed conchas, baker Erica Lopez is worried about letting some down.
The conchas, a Mexican sweet bread often eaten with hot chocolate or coffee, has become a hit in the Mexican and general communities in the area as people demonstrate their support for their sides by chomping into their favorite colors.
This is the first time we feel like we are like in it. Because I mean, other years we just watch it and it's over there, but now here, like for the games being here and us being here too, and being able to offer something feels different. We feel like we're part of it, and like when the games are, we have like, okay, we prep everything so we can watch the games.
The World Cup conchas are also extremely shareable on social media, said 15-year-old Leo Ruiz, who finds them really cute. Los Angeles is home to millions of Mexican-born people and those of Mexican heritage, and the green Mexico national team jersey can be seen on people everywhere in the sprawling metropolis. Combining those colors and conchas is something that came naturally to Lopez. However, caring deeply about soccer is not simple joy for passionate supporters like Lopez, who comes from Mascota in Jalisco, Mexico. Like a player facing a World Cup match with nerves swirling, Lopez wants to live up to her customers' expectation in supplying the conchas. Indulging in a concha is a less fraught World Cup experience and just plain fun. Customer Nubia Wilson, 50, was picking up a box of Mexico and US concha jerseys and a concha soccer ball for a boy's birthday party later that day.
That concludes news for now. Thank you for watching PSM News. Have a good day.